Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I'm Jack Wallace. Welcome, welcome. We're glad you're here.
A lot of people talking about the shutdown right now, for sure.
I guess that's for good cause because it is, at first it was going to be possibly a couple of days or, they didn't think it would last that long, but now we're
And
going
generally
on.
it doesn't. I mean, I
Yeah.
covered a bunch of these in news, and they never really lasted very
You know
long.
what I always think is so funny is that it's like whatever party is in power is saying it's the other party being dramatic and how dare them do this. I mean, not to be political, but when the Republicans were doing it, they were the ones doing it, and the Democrats were crying, "Why are they doing this? They should never said." I mean, it's all so much theater, but at the same time, it has a real impact. And and we're not don't want to get political, obviously, but
And
it does have an impact.
the only thing I would ask of our politicians, and again, this has nothing to do with
Oh, there's a lot I'd ask
where
of
I
them.
am, right to left, but if you guys could just work together. I have to balance my home budget. You guys figure this out, and girls,
Yeah.
and get this done. But in the meantime,
Can we just get to the center? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I think we are. I think that's part of what's going on. And I will say this. I do think that we have some things happening right now. I was just reading that in Georgia, they just released the preview of the new health care with the change in the subsidies for the Affordable Health Care Act, and the average person was going to be paying $8.95, or paid $8.95 last year, and the average person will now pay $1,900.
Wow, that's a big difference.
So there is like a big issue here that is being looked at and tried to be addressed. So I mean, it isn't just like people are doing this necessarily just because they just think it's fun. I think there is a stand, but I also understand this may not be the time to do that. So that's where we're at a standstill, and I'm not sure. Doesn't look like there's much traction
Yeah.
in any of that. We only have one of them aren't even in session. So we better be prepared that we could be in this for a little while longer. And so we wanted to just talk about what does that mean for real estate and how would that affect you. And
And
most people don't really understand that. So we'll just go through the basic stuff because that's what you would want to know.
and I just one of my sorority sisters, her father passed away, and I'm selling her house. She's in Texas, in San Antonio, and she said it has really affected them because there's so much military there
Yeah.
that aren't getting paid. So a lot of times this depends on where you live in the country.
Hmm.
The overall effect for some, it's really hard.
Well, and then you get into they aren't getting paid, but then you get into also, and that's where we were talking about earlier. So you have the government-backed loan, which a Veterans Association is a government-backed loan.
Hmm.
You have FHA loan, and you've got
USDA.
USDA.
Hmm.
All of those could be affected. I have heard USDA has been really affected. Veterans is starting to be affected, and FHA will be affected if it goes on much longer. And so those have underwriting by the government, have processing from the government, and so it makes sense that at a certain point you're going to have the funding wear out, and you're going to have an issue. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think it's really when you look at um, almost every loan I come across right now, it's FHA. I mean, there's very
Me
few that
too.
are not FHA, so it really does make a difference, and it really could make a difference. So
And the
I'm not seeing
longer
a lot of it. Are
yeah,
you seeing much of it?
I have not, none of my clients have been affected so far, but the longer it goes on, that's
Yeah.
going to be a possibility. If you're a buyer and if this does end up affecting you, it may push back your closing date.
Yeah. You just
Uh,
have to be prepared that it's no one's
mhm.
fault, you know, well, somebody's fault, but it's not anyone in the chain of your control's fault. It's going to be more of a procedural, and it's like if people aren't getting paid, they tend to stop coming to work. If you don't have funding in the process and you've run out of your reserves in that program until you reopen, those reserves don't get refilled. So that's kind of where you're going to start seeing that happen. The one thing I do know for sure is the flood insurance is an issue because it just expired on Tuesday, and so they have to vote the new one in. It's such a strange process, but
Which is
until
government backed.
which is government backed,
Mhm.
but until they do, there will be no issuance of flood insurance. So if you have a home in a flood insurance required area, that's not going to happen until this is over. So, like,
Interesting.
those are where you start seeing the beginnings of, oh, it is going to make a difference. So,
And this is where I think it's really important that buyers work with a local lender, because then we as agents representing the buyer or the seller
mhm,
can talk with that person and get real answers of what they're seeing the effect
right.
is. Sometimes if it's 1-800 whatever, you're just a number and they're answering a lot of calls just like yours, and maybe not really answering them at all.
Right. And my theory is to go forward as if things are normal,
Hmm.
have everything ready to rock and roll, and then if things get slowed or they have a slow churn, then we just have to do some extensions and we have to do some things, some gap stops. We just have to all be prepared to work in that direction.
And
So,
all working together. That means buyers, sellers, and the agent and the brokerage working together to make sure that if there is a closing date, there are extensions, if it's pushed back,
so what
or
you're
flood
saying is
insurance.
we should all work together, unlike our Congress does.
Bingo.
It is kind of amazing, and they're still getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, it is baffling. The way that all of that works is just baffling. Like, they act like children, they govern like children, but then we have to all act like adults in how we handle, like, how these decisions are made. And you know what? It is. I mean, it is scary. Like, there are a lot of things that are really scary, and we haven't even tapped into the big beautiful bill. There's so many things in there that we need to discuss, and we will, because it is changing a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things that are going to be for the good, for sure, for a lot of our clientele, and then some things are not going to be so great for some of our clientele. And we'll get more into that in detail through our podcast. But right now, what you need to know is that things are moving. They are continuing on. So it's not a time to sit on your hands. It's actually probably a time to be doing your thing, getting out there, getting things in process, because those slowdowns, I've dealt with them before, those slowdowns quickly resolve once they get
Mhm.
reopened. I mean, it's kind of like they flip the switch back on and then things still have a delay because they've got a backlog, but we're not seeing a big buildup of backlog yet.
And
So,
to put it in perspective, because my daughter's at that age where she's really asking questions. It really
wait a minute, your
frightened
daughter.
her. You know,
Just your daughter's like in med school. But
yeah.
I was thinking, like, why? Why? No,
Well,
you're talking like she's a mature adult asking mature
yeah.
adult questions. Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
she was like,
Took me a minute to get there. Like, do you have a child I don't know about?
yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's Marlo. And she was asking because she had never heard of this before, and
Mm.
it was very frightening to her.
What is
It
frightening?
is frightening. But if you put it in perspective, I mean, in my 20 years of TV news, I covered a number of these. And just like you said, once they finally work it out, and they're going to have to work it out,
Yeah.
once they finally work it out, we go back to the same as it was before. I mean, loans are going through, and, you
Yeah.
know, the government's back in business.
But it is just such a strange time. I mean, it is. And it's like, I think in some ways we just have to get to the place where we're aware of what's happening and we're doing what we can for what we believe in, but we have to keep doing things and we have to keep moving forward and we have to try and come to terms and work together.
Hmm.
Period. The end.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just I want to go back to being adults. I mean,
Everybody
I
being
really
adults.
do. I want to go back to being adults. Like, I just think yeah, and so let's be adults and let's just keep working on solutions and answers and figuring this out. But just be aware that that could be an issue, and the longer it goes on, the more that it will be an issue. Um, and I mean that's kind of the point of it.
Both
It's like a
sides are trying to
strike.
make their point.
Whenever
Yep.
people go on strike, I'm been going back and forth to New York a little bit and doing 2 or 3 days there, and right now today the musicians are meeting for the Broadway musicians that are the orchestra, playing the orchestra, about going on strike because Broadway had its most successful uh, last year, most successful time. But what's funny is it was overall the most successful, but a lot of the people doing, had to close the shows.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like everybody made a lot of money last year, but then the people that are going on, that are in the orchestra want their fair share of that, and they've been working in an old contract. So my point is, they don't want to go on strike for everything to go on as normal. They want to go on
Right.
strike to shut things down, to make the people go, we need you to come back to work. So,
Hmm.
that is it's kind of like the government is on strike at the moment. That's kind of how this is going. So I think that's the best way for me to think of it,
Sure.
is it's just like going on a strike. Because and so with that, they understand that they're going to make some things suffer, and that's the point.
Well, in real estate, we work on commission base. So if we go on strike, really nothing happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe everybody should be on commission.
I certainly think our Congress should. I mean, I think it's like that. It's ridiculous. Now the thing about their transparency, and then not being able to do investments, and how many of them are pushing back on it. It's like, yeah, that's why you make 70,000 a year or whatever they make, and you're worth 4 million suddenly. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit weird, and that's both parties. To be
Hmm.
very careful,
Oh,
I want to
yeah,
be very careful.
absolutely.
Like, it's not. It's just, I don't think that they're looking out for our best interest really most of the time.
Kind of feels like it with the shutdown. I mean, can you imagine if I came home one day when my kids were little and said, "Nope, I'm just not paying the bills anymore.
Mhm.
Until you kids clean your room, you're not going to get water and heat." It's just the normal house, the
Well,
normal household doesn't operate this
but I think
way.
that's also the way it's structured is so interesting, because if you're in the minority of the Congress, this may be the only way to get people to say we will negotiate on something like premiums not coming up on health insurance. And so
Hmm.
for us as real estate professionals also, if those premiums do go up 2 and 3 times, which is what's going to happen.
Hmm.
I mean, I pay a tremendous amount of money for my health insurance every year. The thought of it doubling, or even in Oklahoma, they say we won't go up as high. We'll go up like 20%, 18 to 20, which is still outrageous,
A lot.
but we'll go up 18 to 20% for our health insurance, because we didn't take that money in protest to the government. So we've suffered for it in a way, but in the long run, right now, it won't be as much of a shock to our system. But that will affect how much people can buy.
Yep.
I mean, so we do have to come up with some solutions in this country. Like, people are struggling to make it, and so yeah. Anyways, but again, not getting political, I guess I just did a little bit, because I'm not actually on one side or the other, because I really do see both sides. I think there's a lot of value to both sides and what they're saying. I just
Mhm.
don't understand why we can't talk anymore and just figure out how to get to the middle.
And, I think a lot of that, certainly politics have gotten, more where they're bumping
Mhm.
heads and, hate and
It's
just
talk about
can't even
theater.
talk. Yeah. But, it used to be they would at least sit down and talk, but it seems to me it's worse since COVID.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Everyone sat on
Mhm.
their computer and got into all kinds of like wormholes, going whichever way their mind wanted to go. So became very isolated, and it was so easy to go into, you know, you're the worst person I've ever seen. It's kind of like when you get two people in a room that
Mhm.
when they're going back and forth, I always say to other agents, you need to get them in the same room.
Mhm.
Like, they need to be in the same room and eye to
See
eye
each
and face to
other.
face,
Mhm.
and not just some mystery person who's trying to screw me over.
Mhm.
They need to be another human being that we can discuss and say, so here's what I would like to do and what I need. How does that work for you? And vice versa, like adults.
Mhm. What a
So
concept.
yeah, so I think during COVID, we went in those wormholes. We were isolated. We were all scared. We were all kinds of things. No one knew what the future was going to bring, other than real estate. We were working butts off because it was like crazy times. Um, but I think that really did cause that. I think that
Mhm.
it made people more prone to believe whatever extreme they were already kind of leaning towards.
And now that we're on the edge of this rabbit hole. I'm going to
Yeah,
go down there. Social media is amazing for people to connect and network, to market properties. I mean,
and it's Satan.
it really is, the angel and the devil.
Mm.
But what a lot of people don't realize is, for instance, Meta wants to always be relevant to you. If it's no longer relevant, you're not going to stay on the platform. So
Mhm.
they're constantly working to provide you things that you find relevant, that you find relevant,
Mhm.
and you find relevant.
And we're
So,
all guilty of it.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the idea behind that, if you are, whichever side of the aisle you're on with politics, if you begin watching far right or far left, they're going to serve you up more far right and far left. And especially during COVID,
Yeah.
people were in their homes, not talking with family and friends and other people. And so they were constantly fed that. And I've seen a huge shift in how people feel politically since COVID, especially being on social media.
It's interesting though because I have direct TV. And so in the morning, I used to always watch CNBC for all my financial news, which we always joke because I watch 3 or 4 hours a morning of
I
CNBC
don't.
or Bloomberg or whatever. But now they have a channel that you can. I actually do this, and I love it. It's like 4 business channels on the screen at one
Oh,
time.
that's
And
cool.
so you're listening to CNBC and you're watching it, but then next to it is Fox News Business, and below that is Bloomberg, and over here is one called Cheddar. Don't really watch Cheddar, but I think it's more like for young
Is that for
people.
mice? I don't
It's
know.
for like I think it's more for like 20s and 30s. It's a
Okay.
little bit more kind of a hip kind of I don't
So
know, just
the
not my.
hip jack.
It's
I
fine,
like
but it's not
that.
my thing. Um, but it's really interesting because just having that on is so interesting to see, like especially with CNBC and Fox side by side, you're getting the same numbers, but then the headline
Mhm.
is very different. So how they're framing those numbers and how they're presenting what those numbers mean are so different. And so it's kind of good because there's times when I'm like, oh, I really kind of agree with that one, or I kind of agree with, like I
Mhm.
really am very much in the middle when I watch because I mean I lean one way a little more than the other, but it's interesting because you start going, okay, yeah, there is some sense to this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when I was in the news for 20 years, everything you tried to be middle of the road as possible.
Oh, that's
Eh,
over.
yeah, those days are long gone. But you tried to not sway people. You tried to give them the information, and
Mhm.
they could decide. Even then, the words that you choose can set the stage for how people feel about that particular topic. But now, sometimes it is so far right or so far left or perceived to be that, or they're using that language
Mhm.
because they know who their key audience is. If
Mhm.
they're super right, they know they're, talking to the super right. If they're super left, they know they're talking to the super left.
Yeah.
They want you to keep watching, like social media. They want to be relevant. So I'm a big believer, and this drove my parents crazy. I'm a big believer in watching different networks, different news
Even if it makes you
organizations.
angry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanna hear what everybody's saying, so then I can make up my own mind about a
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer loyal to the network that I worked for 20 years, ABC, and I love a lot of what they do, but I watch everybody now.
I think it's interesting though too because I used to tell John when we were, doing different things and we would receive information that we would need to relay to our clients. And he would say, "Oh, I have to give them bad news." Or, "Oh, I get to give them good news." And finally I went, "You know what? We need to stop thinking of it as good news and bad news.
Mhm,
It's information that we are relaying to them. They get to decide
mhm.
whether that is good news or bad news." Because if you go in with it, "Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I feel so sorry for you." Well, they have no way to respond, but like this is terrible.
Right.
But it's funny because I've delivered bad news to someone and they go, "Oh wow, good. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be."
A closing pushback, and they're like, "Oh, great, because my mover actually needs extra
Uh
days," or
huh.
whatever it is. You're right. You don't wanna paint that picture when you
Uh-huh.
walk in.
Or this was on your credit report, so they're saying they're going to increase your interest rate. Oh, I thought they were going to deny me. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Mhm.
And, and sometimes you think you're going in with good news, and they're like, I mean, it's interesting. You just never know. But I think we have to be so careful in this world and in this universe that we live in of not getting into the sensational part of it. It's kind of
Absolutely.
like, my friend Chris and I were watching one of the Real Housewives things because she's obsessed with it. I'm not. But we always laugh because we're like, who has friendships like this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have friendships like that. I have
I
never had friends.
won't have
But
friendships
I don't,
like
I
that.
mean, do people really have those kind of friendships?
So, I worked behind the scenes doing social media for a reality show
I
out of
did not.
Nashville. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, Private Lives of Nashville Wives, and so I was in
Sounds
Nashville a
like a bit
lot.
of a knockoff.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in Nashville quite a bit. The cast actually brought me in to work with them on social media and having Twitter chats and all kinds of stuff. And they were all friends. Interestingly enough, when they were cast, none of them knew each other, or at least not well.
Right.
But they cast it to make sure they're bringing in those different personalities, so you'll stay because there's conflict. I mean,
Mhm.
if they all love each other all the
Right.
time, you're
No,
why continue watching, right?
it's
So
not it's not reality TV. It's
right.
yeah.
And they brought up a couple of times where somebody really did get upset with what was going on.
Yeah.
One, either the wounded or the villain. But a lot of times it was a topic that, maybe it wasn't a big deal, but then the producer would call somebody and say, "Hey, I need you to walk into this restaurant that you're also having a meal and have a conversation about that topic."
Yeah.
And
It's casting. I mean, they
yeah,
cast it with real people, but then they make sure they put them in situations.
yes.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, I don't, I think I love selling Sunset because I love to see the houses. They're amazing. Actually like to watch the fashion and the cars and the purses, which I have no idea if they actually own that stuff or it was, maybe
No.
loaned to them. We don't dress like that as agents in Oklahoma,
Mhm.
but kind of fun to watch. But when they start catfighting, it just drives me crazy because I'm like, that's not the case at our office.
Mhm.
I
But
mean,
also, let's just get really serious about that because the other thing I just talked to college kids. I went back to TU yesterday, and I'm on the advisory committee for the real estate minor for the business college, and
I
it's
love that.
really cool. Yeah, it's very, very cool, and just such an honor to go back to your college and do something like that. But as part of your being on that, you agreed to speak to the kids, every couple of years or so, and so I did my speech on buying a house because I started thinking, you know what? I remember being in college and people would come in and talk about all the creative financial things about buying a house, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's a mortgage? I mean,
Yeah.
like, because you're
Mhm.
just a kid. You don't know. You haven't paid rent half the time. Your parents have been paying it. So I was like, let's just get down to the very, very basics of what it is to buy a house and, how to get your credit in the place you want to. What does
Mhm.
credit mean? I
Right.
mean, like, they really didn't understand what credit meant, like credit scores meant. I mean, because they just haven't dealt with that. And like, okay, your credit card is this. But what was interesting was I realized yesterday they have watched a lot of the reality TV shows. And so they do know like what a listing is. They do know how you offer and negotiate a little bit. So there's been some bad things about those shows because they're so sensationalized, but they do give us some education and just the basics. Now, what drives me crazy about those shows is they show getting it sold.
It just
They do
happened
not.
like that.
What they should have a show. I think we should do a. Not we. I don't want to be on a reality TV show. But what they should have is sold to closed. They should have
Yeah.
sold to closed. Like what it takes once the house sells to get it closed, because that is, I would say, most of the time anymore, 75% of the hard work for the realtor is from the solds to the closed because you have to get through inspections, you have to get through government shutdown, you
Mhm.
have to get through flood, you have to get through, I mean, all the
And
things,
quite honestly,
a hailstorm,
personalities of your buyer and seller
mm,
too.
or other realtor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the other realtor,
And
yeah.
that's the thing too. Like, I think I've been in this business long enough. There was not reality TV shows when I started in the business, and I can tell you the approach of other realtors to other realtors has changed because of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You were on a reality show, though. We should bring that up. You and John, and that's originally how we met.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Tell them how originally how we met. That's taken us back just a few
So I was the
years.
design guy for Channel 8, ABC here, which basically I would just do remotes. It was so fun. Like we would do remotes from different places, and I would just talk about like different design concepts. Because that time I was an interior designer, I was for years.
Hmm.
Um, and the big show at that time was Trading Spaces,
Hmm.
which was a cool show. But like you would trade with your neighbor, and then
No
you
way in hell I would do that. I love my
Oh, I know,
neighbors, but
me
no,
either.
no, no,
Yeah,
no,
and
no.
then they would design a house, a room for you, and you would design a room for them, and then they, all the.
And you didn't see it until the big
So it was like
reveal.
48 hours, like you
Yeah.
were, and so they did a local version, and DC Roberts
Uh-huh.
was the reporter who's with our company now, and you were the anchor
Uh-huh.
in the evening, right, afternoon and evening,
Right.
and so yeah, and so we did our we did our show, and it was so fun. It really was fun. And I just remember the guy, we did a bedroom for he and his wife, and we were all so tired. And DC said, "Well, what do you think of your new bedroom?" And he said something to the effect of, "I can't wait to try it out." Everyone on set was dying. We go back to you
Uh-huh.
guys at the desk, and you all are like, we were slap happy, but it was a
That was
fun
fun.
experience. Yeah.
So Jack cannot say that he didn't do reality TV because you
But even
did.
that, I mean, like, it's
But that was
reality,
fun.
but it was
Yeah.
fun. But I mean, I called it every favor imaginable to get the stuff that I got to do on the budget because the budget was like literally
Nothing,
nothing.
which
And
was part of the point.
but I mean,
Yeah.
we built in bookshelves. I mean, we did a lot for that. Yeah. So
Yeah. That
crazy.
was
Yeah.
fun.
I'd almost forgotten about that. Yeah.
And then I did first time buyer. But the nice thing about that, there was no fighting. There was lots of drama because there was
Hmm.
drama on that particular case, not between the agents and I, but just finding the house.
Right.
And she
Yeah.
thought, okay, I think I need to
Well, I
stop.
told the kids yesterday, I said, listen, to be in real estate, you have to love a little bit of drama. Like,
Yeah.
you have to because
Thrive on it a
uh
little. Yeah.
yeah, the adrenaline part of it. It's like playing a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it just showed how we work together on
Mhm.
deals.
Right.
And it's not like selling Sunset, and it's not as quick as a 30-minute or an hour show and 4 homes have been sold. Not quite how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like forever when it's happening. And then when it's over, you're like, it's over? It's really done?
It's like our podcast.
Yeah.
It's like our podcast.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah. But no, it's funny because it's like, I think, I think reality TV show is based in reality,
Mhm.
but it has nothing to do with reality by the time it gets kind
Sure.
of done. Yeah. And edited and yeah, all that. So,
And producers stirring the pot.
but again,
So,
it's education. It's entertainment. I
mhm.
mean, like it's all those things. I still am so crazy. I still will watch HGTV. The what is that show where they're finding their house? I can't believe I can't think of it. Where they're like house hunting.
Yes.
I mean, I will watch that all the time. Like it's just stupid. I'm like, I'm so tired from doing what we do, and then I'll go home and be like, oh, and then you think, oh, I can always tell which one they're gonna pick,
Uh-huh.
and I don't. Like it's funny, I can always tell with my clients which has, but on TV the way they edit it, I don't get those subtle cues that I'm used to. So yeah,
Because they try to throw you off the scent
yeah, they
for
really
sure.
do. They
And
do.
I don't want to spoil the plot, but they do find a house every time in the end.
Right. Well, they actually have found the house before they ever do the filming, which is the other thing
Yes.
no one knows about.
Because you can imagine if a crew was following somebody around on that buying journey,
Right.
I mean, it might take 6, 9 months before they find the right house. So,
Right.
yes, they've already bought the house. They go look at 2 other houses that are similar to the ones they've been looking at. Yeah.
Leave it to us to go from government shutdown to reality TV. But I guess the shutdown is kind of like reality TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Although all of us are canceling our subscription to that stream.
Yeah.
And I do
Amen.
think that's kind of what's happening. I do feel like when I'm talking to my friends that are on both sides, I feel like everyone is just getting a little bit more, like they're getting fatigue over all of it. And they just want everybody to get along.
Yeah.
So let's just hope that
Just
that's
like
what
parents,
happens.
you know, you just want your kids to get along. Don't hit
Mhm.
your sister. Don't, pinch your brother, which is always what was happening with my two little ones.
That's so funny.
Marlo could pinch like no other business, and Peyton could hit her upside the head. Yeah, it was, oh God, how they've grown up and, love
Are
each other now.
good citizens.
Yeah, good, productive citizens.
Awesome.
So again, to wrap it up with the government shutdown, you just need to be patient. Know that there might be some issues with loans if you're a buyer. There might be some issues with closing dates for buyer and seller. Flood
You might think about
insurance.
conventional instead of FHA if there's not that much difference, and you're concerned about that, and you really want to close, then the conventional is probably going to be an easier way to go.
Yeah.
Or private money jumbo that's like in the bank doing the loaning. But yeah, it's amazing how much is government backed.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
All right. Well, that wraps up another issue. I don't know what we're talking about next week. We haven't discussed that.
Surprise.
So many times we sit
Actually,
down.
I do know what we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Do you want to tease it?
Yeah. I was just in New York, and I was walking around all through New York, and every bus stop, on every corner, was the lowdown and had the Tulsa landscape in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm down getting some lunch, leaving the theater, and go past the Outsiders,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep going past the Outsiders. I was thinking, Tulsa is on fire,
Mm-hmm.
like in a good way.
Yes.
Like, it is really interesting how much suddenly Tulsa is getting. Now, I'm not saying the lowdown is exactly like a glamour vision of Tulsa.
Well, you've got Tulsa King as
Yeah,
well.
Tulsa
You've got
King.
Reservoir Dogs.
It's just amazing. Yeah. I mean, and
Mhm.
all the Today Show was here. The Today Show was here filming when I was in New York. So I was watching the Today Show from Guthrie Green while I was sitting in New York City. I mean, I just think it's interesting. So what we're going to talk about is, I think we've been talking about this before, but I really think in Tulsa, I think we are on the cusp of something that we don't quite understand, that's going to be pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And I think real estate is going to be an incredible vehicle for a lot of people during that transformation.
Now I remember that we're talking about that. Thank you for reminding me.
Mhm.
You don't realize sometimes, we'll talk throughout the week, and then we'll pick a topic, but then like we sit down and just start talking about it.
Mhm.
That
Yeah, none of this is scripted.
no,
We are
this is not scripted
Which you're like,
podcast.
duh.
Especially
it doesn't seem like you guys are scripted.
Especially when we go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate your